So hey everyone, welcome to game 3 of the 2018 UK National Championships. We're going to have last year's champion on stream, Austin Shin, versus Robert Richland. Once again, Brett is here to grace you with his wit and intelligence and everything he is. Just this view of Robert staring at the camera, it's hilarious. But anyway, we will let the players get on with it, and I'll leave them in your hands, Brett.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and along with my wit, charm, and intelligence, I have very fine hands as well for you to be handled by. So, as Jessica rightly says, we see here the 2017 UK National Champion, Austin Shin, playing a stalwart of the UK Scrabble scene, Richard Robland, or by his Scrabble pseudonym, Robert Richland. Robert was actually one of the very, very first players I ever played in my rated tournament career. I think, in fact, he was the second. And I recall from that game that I say subsequently brilliantly, but accidentally blocked his great bonus of Cost Mary, which won me the game. We still reminisce over beers about this. So Austin, to start, relatively straightforward choice, really. QIN, PPHT. Offload the queue and get on with the game. Rob picking out pretty drossy rack. Solvable with something like Kuzu, K-U-Z-U, across the top of Chin. LEW not terrible. I guess the problems with Kuzu is it does set up an S-hook for a big score, and it creates potential for Austin to play something across onto the triple word score on the right. But if he doesn't play Kuzu, the scoring opportunities here are pretty weak. He might be considering Luz in order to keep the board tight. The problem with that is he would be keeping the sort of fatal combination of WU. Rob has chosen, by the look of it, to play KULU, which keeps a really good score, potential WEZ. The only flaw in the KULU plan is that it's not a word. He might be getting it mixed up with a number of words which fit that pattern, but Kulu isn't one of them. Kudu, Kuku, Kuru, Kutu, and Kuzu. Personally, I think Kuzu was a fairly forced play in that case. So play goes back to Austin, who would have been hoping for either an A or an O for Thrapple or Thropple. As it is, he's presented with a very familiar board, which he himself helped create, that doesn't really give too much away. Interesting, Rob didn't show on that last move his big scoring threat, which is the Z. Fortunately for Austin, he can't really set anything up that's going to score for the Z, but it's there for the future. Various plays of similar quality here. So Austin has opted to play the bonus that isn't a bonus. You get an A and an O here, but not the I. So, as I said earlier on, this is an illustrious matchup between the former national champion and a player with well over 79 years of tournament experience. Both of them know great times to play phonies and also bad times to play phonies like this, particularly when you're streaming with me doing the commentary. But back to Robert, I think he might be considering changing, looking at the way he's organised his rack. He knows that there's very limited scoring potential on this board at the moment. Robert is one of the players that I would say it changes more than most. He seems to be happier to change rather than work through. But in that case, I think it's a real mistake. I mean, Kuzu to me is the clear play. LEW isn't a disastrous leave. And he also has the benefit of knowing what Austin has. So had he played Kuzu, it would mean that only 5-letter plays would reach the right-hand triple, and Austin doesn't have a 5-letter play on his rack. So I think a missed opportunity there from Robert. Austin, in the meantime, now, I mean, really, he should be thinking, how do I keep this board tight but give myself a good bonus opportunity? He's played Hipper. I mean, I would prefer something like Hipped or Thrip in that situation. But LT, reasonable keep. And Austin may also be playing because he feels playing more open because he feels that he has a stronger bonus knowledge. Perhaps worthwhile bearing in mind that Hippo takes Colin Scrabble words on the front, CSW. So Robert now, having kept EZ, has picked out a challenging set. Something like Puzel, P-U-Z-E-L, is probably going to be the best play, I think, with this. I mean, Super's okay, but you're keeping 3 E's. I think the best play there would have been Puzel. Austin has everyone's favourite hat-like, as well as Hacklet. Just looking at the R, I don't see a bonus through the R. Not to say there isn't one, but it's the kind of situation where I'd spend a little while just making sure. And also potentially through that E of Hipper, but again, I'm not seeing anything. Had Robert played Puzel, which I would argue is the better move, Austin would have laughed like as an 8. But as it is here, he may have gotten away with it. So if he's not going to play the bonus, Austin is going to be looking at plays underneath the Z. It's always nice to have the blank in this kind of situation where there are multiple hooks open on the board. So Austin has the flexibility. Oh, actually, sorry, I've missed something here. So Hacklet does play. I completely forgot the hooks for Hipper. So you should just play Hacklet and Chipper. CSW coming back to haunt me. Hacklet's fairly low probability as a word. But depending on how long you've been around in the world of Scrabble, there have been different learning methodologies, different learning approaches that have been used by various players over the years. And something I grew up with was 6-letter stems, and Castle is a particular favourite that I learned early on. So if you learn Castle +1 and Castle +2, you would know Hacklet. And it looks like he's got Hacklet set up on his rack. The question is, Austin's touching his brow, so the question is here, having played a phony already, is this going to knock his confidence about the validity of Hacklet? You know, it's difficult in these situations because he's got such a strong rack. It will mature into a bonus in the not too distant future. And he can score probably 30 or so underneath Zupa. So he will have a lead and he will have the blank, or he could run the risk of playing a phony. There's a lot to be said, I think, for psychological edge in the game of Scrabble. If you're coming into a tournament off a very purple patch, you've been winning everything that you touch. You play these moves quickly, you play them confidently. But if you have just played a phony, or if you've had a run of really tough games, you come into it and you probably overanalyze everything. I think in this situation, Austin should be saying to himself, well, I do know Hacklet. I've definitely seen it somewhere. Otherwise, I wouldn't be spotting it on my rack, so I should play it. The problem is he probably had the same thought about Triple. For those who are interested, the anagram of Hacklets is Clatches. Other eights include Latchkey, Heli Tack, and Alcahest with a K. I'm sure it's not really been a concern for either player, but for the sake of information, HIPAA does not take an S at the end. It does take an S on the front. And if Austin plays Hacklet, that will no longer be a concern because obviously Chipper does take an S. I think this kind of situation says a lot about a player. If Austin now plays the bonus, you can see that he's the kind of person who will talk himself into this stuff and just go gung-ho. If he doesn't play the bonus, he's a bit more considered, and that's exactly what's happened here. I think he's going to kick himself when he finds out that Hacklet actually was good. Hate is a reasonable alternative. You would expect Rob to probably play something like Lex very, very quickly and Zax. Yeah, Seen, best keep. Keeps the S for Shipper, keeps the S for Chin. Austin now. Austin's in an interesting situation here because there's a lot of players will know the like words can be your greatest friend and your greatest foe, and there's not always logic behind why one word is allowed and why one is not. The question here is, what would you play? Would you play bog-like or would you play bag-like? The answer is, if you play bog-like, you can lose your move because the only 7 is bag-like. And it looks like I can't see what he's ringed. Are we able to see if he's played bag-like or bog-like? It's an A, okay. Okay, so Austin made the right decision there. Bag-like, utilising the position that Rob has just opened, but losing a little bit of momentum, as Hacklet would have got him a decent lead already. Rob challenged, and in the top division of this NSC final, we are using a 5 point per word challenged penalty, so Austin gets +5. Rob himself has a comeback bonus here of Engobes. Multiple places to play it. Onto Chin, onto Hipper, down the side of bag-like. They all hit premium squares in the right kind of way, the B getting tripled with 2 of them, and the whole word being doubled with the other. Gobes is a word that I would expect Rob to know. It's lots of low-scoring tiles, good tiles in many cases, relatively high probability, and it's been around for a very long time. It's actually one of the first words that I learned. We decided to be gone as well. I mean, it's a very aggressive play, very, very open, probably reassured by the fact that he's keeping an ES keep, but just as no 2-tile keep can be truly bad, no 2-tile keep can be truly great. So ES has a lot of room to go wrong. Austin sitting with a great rack for 8s. No 7s that I can see at the moment. You'll certainly be wanting to take out the position under the gong. Did you hear everything I just said? Because my headphones cut out. Okay. I was just saying that Austin is going to be looking to take out that triple line underneath the gong. He doesn't have a 7 on this rack. It makes a lot of 8s, but none of which play. So possibly something like AVO, AVO, or ARVO. It's probably all much of a muchness, really. I mean, he'll be checking through to make sure he's not missing a bonus first. He'll probably be a little bit confused by that play, though, by Rob. He's burning good tiles to open up a really volatile position, to not score a lot. And he's almost certainly going to be outscored by Austin in return. Yeah, Austin's played AVO, ARVO, ORE blank. very, very strong chance for a bonus, and he just created another line for himself to play at next move. Rob has, well, he's sort of done really what I said. He's picked out a couple of good tiles to go with his ES, but then the U and the Y combine relatively badly to make this one of those so-so racks that you're getting back into balancing before you get a bonus. Whereas, well, obviously he missed the bonus last move, but he should be much closer. He's opting to take the score with Daisy, 37. Probably because he wants to keep close enough that maybe he doesn't have to force a bonus. And Rob tends to like to keep the score ticking over, if possible, as you'll see from this game. But in the meantime, Austin has an extremely strong rack. He's got Aero Duct as a double-double. That's the first thing that I see. In fact, Aero Duct is the only double-double. Yeah. And I think that should be played pretty quickly. There's no reason not to. The top left of the board then becomes very, very restricted. So you've only got plays down to BY. Scores a lot, so puts him over 100 points up. So a little bit of the rub of the green going with Austin at the moment, and I think from the point of view of if you're sitting there as his opponent, you're feeling that he's getting the better of the tiles. However, Rob has made a couple of mistakes here, which really have meant that this is a less of a balanced game than it should be. Rob is keeping his tiles close to his chest at the moment. We know he's got UTE. We don't know what else he's got. Rob tends to be a fairly quick, fairly streaky player, so he won't be too worried about using up his own time to sort out his admin. So he has a so-so rack. It would be clearable if he could play VUM in a decent place, but the board isn't really conducive to that at the moment. The challenge that Rob has as well is he's going to have to play a bonus. He doesn't really have good hooking tiles to go across on the top of the O. He's got the C and the V. A play by Austin now down from the T of Aero Duct would pretty much square up the board and make it very difficult for Rob to get back in it, particularly when Rob's 129 points behind. There were a few options which sort of sort out his rack that I can put my finger on. Rectum would be the obvious. Creates a couple more floaters, leaves the position across in the O open. I'd really like to play something down from that D, onto the D of Aero Duct. But there aren't any plays that really sort this rack out. Muled keeps CVT pretty awful. and the floater you're creating is a U as well as the M, so it combines badly. I mean, 129 down, maybe there is a case to be made for something like Mvule, M-V-U-L-E, across the top of Avo, creating the S hook. It's a pretty do or die move. But keeping CT, pretty strong keep. So Rob has opted for muted CLV. Not a great keep, particularly with the U being the only realistic vowel that he's got on the board to utilise. Conveniently, or it's happenstance for Rob, he hasn't left the floaters that Austin needed. D or an R with his current rack for enfolder or foreland. So Austin currently 102 up. And he's playing a phony. Possibly getting it mixed up with N Gould with a G instead of the F. Interesting that the only bonus that Austin has turned down in this game was valid. Undoubtedly, enfooled would be the right play if it was a word. So off it comes. So you would think it would be a bit of a sigh of relief there from Rob, but he's still 100 adrift. He's got a rack that could get there, but he's not going to score a huge amount with it at this stage. I was about to suggest he might want to play Vale to set up the A hook that he doesn't have, but he knows that Austin doesn't have it. There are 4 A's unseen. Rob's giving himself 3 shots at drawing one. And obviously Austin's not going to block that on this move. Worth a try. The challenge is that Austin can simply play something like Dobie to the BY to really frustrate that position. But from Rob's point of view, obviously that would still keep the floaters muted and the various other openings alive for a little bit longer. Now, interestingly, going back to what I was saying earlier on about a long play down from the T of aero duct, truncating the board, Austin would have something like tenfold, which had Rob not played muted to create a further opening, would have made virtually 0 chance of Rob coming back into this. So you do have to give yourself the best shot possible sometimes, even if you are keeping rubbish. So obviously in this situation, Rob has full knowledge of what Austin has. Austin has no knowledge of what Rob has. But Austin will be looking at his tracking and realising there are 4 A's unseen. So he will be thinking there's a very strong chance that Rob has an A, given the Vale play. Austin's now 85 up, so he will be ahead after the next exchange of moves, we would hope. But not by a lot if Rob plays a bonus making the A hook and a Vale. So from my point of view, if I was Austin, I'd be thinking of playing Dobie to frustrate. Austin chooses to play Enfold and Zupan. Very good move. It restricts in the same way I was talking about with tenfold. Takes out the O position. Scores a lot. Turnover for turnover's sake is not obviously a great thing, but in this situation, there's no benefit in keeping a lot of what he had. He does run the risk now of Rob playing a bonus with the A, but of course, as we know, he doesn't have one. Rob plays Cling, creating an opening using his S. Could have played various things, scoring more, making arrow ducts, but obviously it would be pretty suicidal because it'd be closing off the hooks that he's got for muted. Austin has picked out one of those A's that have been waiting out there. The only bonus he has, I think, would be numerate, depending on how you want to pronounce it, which clearly there's no N floating for. Never the right floaters for more metries when you want it either. So Austin now 97 up. The openings created by Cling, I would say, would rank lower down the threat list. Any playmaking Clings is going to open up a counter play down the right hand side or onto one of the triples. It's interesting, he will be wondering whether Rob does have an A at this point, because CING plus the A, you would wonder why Rob didn't play a much higher score, making a veil. Austin probably just double checking at the moment that he doesn't have an 8. He probably knows straight away that he doesn't have one through the N that would play, but with the duplicate M, you might want to just be making sure that more meter or something is not good. Okay, Austin opting to score through. Mir is, I think, probably the highest scoring play in that position. Perfectly fine. I mean, I think he would have been balancing whether to play fewer tiles and try to keep more of a bonus conducive leave. But in this kind of situation, you can't really turn your nose up at 38 points. Rob really needs 2 bonuses now. And unfortunately has this awkward situation where he has to know that Undress takes an S on the front, which he does. Very good. Best play, played very quickly. Austin, in the meantime, not a great rack. Lacks the S, ironically, which Rob has just played 3 of, to play Tortuous. So Austin 59 up. They're in a situation here where all 4 S's have gone because Rob had them. Both blanks have gone because Austin had them. So the threats are not going to be hooks, they're going to be 8s through floaters in this board. The best floaters currently are the ESS of Sundress. So you would think that a play such as Tout or Tor would immediately jump out at Austin. And then next move, you'd expect him to play something through the N of Kling if Rob hasn't opened out the board. Rob actually does have Faineant on his next play if Austin plays Tour. Or Tout. So Tout there. Rob with the bonus. He's played Sundress, which is lower probability than Faineant. He's got 74 points here for Faineant, which will put him only 7 behind. With Austin having a really drossy rack, and the J, Y, some good scoring opportunity out. So if this could be the moment that Rob must shine, if he sees the bonus, he's going to give himself a good chance. Really will have brought himself back into this one from nowhere, but the question is, will he see it? Other options, if he doesn't see it, are a little bit more challenging. I mean, he could be thinking about something like FA in the bottom left-hand corner for just 19 points. But this is the thing, this is the agonising thing. As soon as you set up FA on your rack, if you know Faineant, he's more or less got it spelt out on his rack now. What's great about watching this as an observer is we've already had 2 games today where there have been some pretty critical decisions, pretty critical moments which have turned the game. Oh yes, Rob has now got Faineant set up on his rack, and he's playing it. He's playing it. Great move, great spot. Gives himself a shot at this one. We know that Austin has got some really bad tiles now, and there's a lot of, well, 9 unseen tiles, so Rob will leave 2 in the bag from now. He's 7 behind. 3 I's, A-E-J-O-W-Y. As long as Rob can avoid drawing terribly, he's got a shot. Something like I-J would probably kill Rob right now. So come on, Rob. Not that I've got a favourite in this situation, but it's always nice to see someone pull themselves back. So one of those I's, the O, the Y, good scoring tile. If the rest goes with it, the W, the J, wow. Another I, and the A. All things considered, it's a pretty good rack. Almost obviously spells Kujibo, which sadly is not a word yet, but we'll work on it. Now bear in mind, from Austin's point of view, there are 2 tiles unseen here. We happen to know that the 2 in the bag are EI. Austin will be thinking, I want to score and I want to give myself the best shot at getting out in 2 moves. Which is not going to be easy. So he's played a row, which will leave him with a rack of Owry I. Okay, so Rob 28 points behind. Realistically, if he's able to create a 2-move outplay now, we would expect him to be able to steal this one. Or, alternatively, if he can score sufficiently heavily to outdistance Austin, with Austin's bad one-pointers. The benefit of Rob having played quickly is that he has just under 9.5 minutes now to work this out. And it's exactly the kind of situation that you would hope you have some time to work through. So various scoring options here, but whether you can get out with them is another question. So something like Joy onto Mir, 33, putting him 5 up, but keeping WIIA, which doesn't go anywhere. And also, of course, sets up a score for Austin down the side, as much as he can score at the moment, which isn't going to be a huge amount. Austin trying to keep a calm face here. He's checking through the tracking. He knows that he's put himself in a challenging position with the phonies that he's played here. He should be in a much more secure lead right now. So Rob might be looking at iterations of what happens if he plays Joy and Mai, setting up WAI down the side of Joy, but equally setting up Austin to just offload OI or something. So we've run simulations, and it's looking like there are no wins for Rob here. It's a real challenge to see this, but there are no wins because Austin has just got enough of a lead. In Championship, Quack was suggesting that JO is the play, which Rob has played. I mean, if Austin makes a real howler now, what that has created is the opportunity for Rob to play clingy and something. If Austin makes 2 howlers, then he could play Yor and Iwi to go out and win. But it's unlikely to happen. Austin's probably checking that his tracking is right now. And he hasn't missed an out for Rob. So all he'll really need to do is to play out in 2 and not create any massive openings for it. Although actually looking at the clingy threat, So Rob is threatening 30 with clinging, which will put on 4-1-5. So Austin can't just play out, he has to address that in some way. So it's looking like he's thinking of playing Tory, making Geo. Austin only has 34 seconds left. So he's played Tory, keeping IEU. An 8-point lead. Leaves himself with Uroy as an outplay. I think in this situation, sometimes you just have to allow your opponent to make a mistake. Yeah, of course, and Austin also has Ayur and Avail with an E on the end. It's very important here because if Rob plays Way and Mai, he'll be 17 points up, so Uroy will not be enough to win. However, Ayur and Avail will put the scores equal, and then Austin will win by 4 on countback. Of course, you would hope that Austin would see Ayur and Avail. I think he probably would. And the way that he played Tory, I think he would have checked out that there were multiple options. So Rob is left with Way as his best play. It does force Austin to have to see Avail and Ayur as an outplay. Yeah, just as a note, I like the fact that Austin's pad has "thank you" on the front. I believe he has interchangeable covers depending on whether he's winning or losing. I'll let you guess what he puts on there if he's losing. Okay, so what Rob has done there is he's blocked the outplay that he's seen, which is Uroy. and he's created a position, or he's left a position that he can open up. He can play out with Iwi. However, Austin, as we suspected, did indeed have Ure and Avail set up. And Rob, not challenging. I think in that situation, it's a funny one, isn't it? Rob shouldn't have blocked Uoi, because Wei would have beaten Uoi. It almost would have been better for him to leave that as a tempter open for his opponent and not force his opponent to have to find another outplay. Undoubtedly, Austin already had Ure set up. But if your opponent has a blatantly obvious losing play, at least let them have a shot at playing it. Interesting game. Mixed opportunities, missed opportunities from both sides. And Gobes and the phony from Rob, and a couple of phonies there from Austin. But not to worry, we're early in this tournament so far, so thank you for joining us for Game 3. We now have, I think, a bit of a break for lunch. The next game will probably begin around 2:30 Brett Smitheram time. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully you're enjoying the commentary so far, and we'll be back with you in a bit.